we didn't really have a research infrastructure. And for you to become a scientist, what you do is you do a PhD, become a doctor in philosophy. And this is what I wanted to do, but there were not programs in Colombia. So I actually went to Harvard. There was a collaboration that my mentor, Dr. Lopera, had with someone at Harvard, and I went to this research laboratory to prepare for and become a scientist and take all the tests. I eventually was admitted into the program, and one of the first things I did was taking, I brought with me hundreds of DNA samples. This blood, when they ask you for blood and they're going to do genetic testing, what they want is the DNA in it, which is what has the genetic mutations. So I brought with me all these samples, and what I did was the genetic testing would actually reveal that indeed these families that I had worked with had CADASIL, and I was able to identify the specific mutation in this family. And by then we had found a second family that was very interesting, and touching on what you were talking earlier, these two families had a very different what we call phenotype. By phenotype we mean that yes, they both have CADASIL, but it just looks different. And one starts earlier, and the other one starts later, and we were able to associate these different presentations of the disease with specific mutations. Yeah?
Are these two different mutations? They're two different mutations?
Two different mutations in the same. And now we have 4 families. So the moment that we started to do this work, and the moment that there was more awareness in the population, we started to get more families to come on, and now we are up to like 4 different mutations.
So each family has their own mutation.
Each family has their own mutation. And in these 2, and you're going to see how this is important later, the mutations were different and were located in different parts of NOTCH3, which is the gene mutated in CADASIL. And something very remarkable. This is actually me at Harvard. I was young back then, and this is what is hanging from the roof is actually the genealogy. This is we printed out, and this is the family tree of all these hundreds and hundreds of one of the families. That it was just remarkable. So it was so big that when they came to take the picture, I was like, why don't we just hang this from the ceiling and you wrap me up in it? And it was really, yeah, this is when you want to get involved in CADASIL. This is what happens, yes?
Do you have a total number of patients with CADASIL? Do you know what the total number is?
It's actually, I mean, we have not been recruiting. We got up to like 300 in terms of the people that we know. We have genotype, we have tested positive. Not all of them are alive and so on, but not all of them have tested. So yeah, and this is in one family.
Oh, that's 300 in one family?
Yeah. It's a remarkable.
And then there's 3 other families.
There are 3 other families. But and then doing the recruitment and everything is very time-consuming and expensive, and we've been going on and off. But this is as far as things go. So, why am I showing this picture? I'm showing this picture because I wanted to give you this idea of actually what it takes. What it takes to do research, what it takes to make a discovery. I'm actually a very simple one. It was just a very large family and discovering the mutation, but that's the first thing I did. With this, I didn't get a PhD. This is just some of the clinical work I did while I was at Harvard. And I'm going to tell you some more about my research. But the PhD training I started in 2002, and it took me 7 years until 2009. And the topic of my dissertation, actually, the title is Notch signaling in ischemic stroke and CADASIL. The focus, 100% of my dissertation work was on CADASIL. It took 7 years. I graduated in 2009. And my relationship with CADASIL since 1999 has been at 2 levels. One, I've been just doing research. I'm very interested in the problem from a scientific and intellectual point of view. And 2, I've been just very involved with my patients. I really like my patients. What happened was that last year, this is me and my father. This picture was taken last year. Well, actually, he was taking this year, but what happened was that last year he was diagnosed with dementia. Okay, and he was, very active, very independent, and everything. And he actually had an accident. He was mugged, and he got a hit in the head. And because of that, he received a lot of testing. And one of the things they did was, some MRIs and some other studies, because right after this incident, he became very isolated. He didn't want to go out, by himself, and was just very quiet. And it turned out that during the studies, and this is actually something very new for us, he was diagnosed with something that we call ischemic cerebral small vessel disease. What is that? It's basically a disease that a lot of people have that looks like CADASIL, okay? And it cannot really be distinguished by a lot of people. You will say, oh, CADASIL is very rare. Well, maybe people that have the mutation of CADASIL are not that many, but the people that have the genetic form of the disease are in the millions, okay? And the way we say it is, when we are doctors, is sometimes these genetic conditions speak of what is happening in the larger population with what we call sporadic diseases. So my dad was diagnosed with, if you can say, the genetic form of CADASIL. And his diagnosis now is mild dementia. So for me, this was very shocking, because I was like, how is it that I've been working on this disease for like 11 years, and now it hits home? And is it gonna make it? I can tell you honestly, it doesn't make it any easy to know about it. We as a family, we are struggling with all the things that you have a struggle with. He hasn't been tested. He's old school. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to hear it. Both my sister and I, we are actually very scared. I have in my lab, in a freezer, I have all the reagents to do the genetic testing myself. I can just get blood from myself. I can't do it. It's not ethical for me to do it like that. So it's just a nightmare. All the things that just go through my mind. Having all the scientific or the medical knowledge actually doesn't really help. If anything, has become a liability. So just recently I decided to get the word out there, get connected with other people that have CADASIL, and now I feel even more, I feel like I want to just engage myself with people that have the disease here and in Colombia once again at this different level, because now I feel like I understand it a little bit better in a different way, and I think it will help me to make more discoveries, not just scientific, but also from a personal growth, and eventually it will help us as a family grow to a point where we can actually do some testing on ourselves, and it will help us and get tested myself. I haven't done it. I'm afraid. That's the reality. So in any case, this is where I am, and in a way, that's why I'm here.
So you're saying that what your father has been told he has, there are millions of people basically like your father? Is that what you were saying when you said millions?
Oh, yes.
But if he was actually tested, chances are it is CADASIL? Or?
It could be CADASIL, yes.
But there's millions of people out there that have what appears to be CADASIL, but it's not? Or I guess I don't understand that part.
Yeah, I mean, what is confusing about it is that the moment that the disease, CADASIL is when ischemic cerebral small vessel disease is caused by mutations in NOTCH3. And this is why here we can actually, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So here we have, it's a ischemic